Welcome to another episode of This Day in the Mafia with Staxx and Steve. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on? I'm good. What's happening? What's happening? How was your day? Yeah.
Good. Everything's good, man.
Yeah, this day in the Mafia. This is a good one today, man. This is a good one.
Man. So we're gonna talk about Willie Sutton, the bank robber.
Yep, Willie the actor, Slick Willie.
Yeah, man. He was a pretty genius dude. He died 41 years ago today.
Yep. William Francis Sutton Jr., born June 30th, 1901, November 2nd, 1980, died. 40 years. He had a 40-year bank robbery career. That's a long time, man. It's a long time.
That's all the stuff he got caught with one of the times, man. Look at all that shit. He got caught with a police uniform and Tommy guns and everything, man.
They said that was one of the things that made him really different, too, is because he would go in disguise a lot. Like, he'd go as a cop. He'd show up as a janitor.
Yeah.
And so he'd show up a lot of times before the bank opens. That was kind of his deal. He has a pistol and a Tommy gun, usually. And he would usually hit the bank in the morning, and he's in and out, Never killed anybody. So the Mafia liked him because he was just a low-key guy. He was a real friendly guy. He was really smart. He made it past the 8th grade, and that was it. Just like Sammy. Sammy only made it past the 8th grade. And look at, he's a smart guy, too. And he's one of those guys that you almost wanted to cheer on, like, keep running, Willie, keep running. You know what I mean? Says he escaped, 3 times from prison? So there's a guy you can't hold down. You can't hold him down. So, unbelievable.
Yeah, my phone was off for a minute, man. It's back on. I'll call you after I'm done with this, bro. Shout out to Damien.
So, yeah, man, do you want me to read a little bit about Willie, like his early life and stuff? I've got it right here if you want me to read. All right. Early life. Willie Sutton was born to an Irish-American family on June 30th, 1901 in Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to Brooklyn. A lot of people come from Brooklyn, man. To William Francis Sutton Sr., a blacksmith, and Mary Ellen Bowles. His family lived on the corner of Gold and Nassau Streets in the neighborhood of Irishtown, Brooklyn, now called Vinegar Hill. According to his biography, where the money was, at the age of 3, the family relocated to High Street. His mother was, according to the biography, born in Ireland. However, according to the 1910 U.S. Census, she was born in Maryland. Parents were born in Ireland in 1910. Whoop.
Camera
still there? Uh-oh. All right. So, anyway, I'll keep reading, and I'll go back. I'm going to have to jump back in. Career in crime. Sutton became a criminal at an early age. Throughout his professional crime career, he did not kill anyone. He was described by mafioso Donald Francos as a little bright-eyed guy, just 5'7", and always talking, chain-smoking cigarettes with Bull Durham tobacco. Franco stated also
his whole career, he never killed anyone. His whole career?
No, his whole career. No, and he also dispensed a lot of illegal advice in prison. To anybody who would listen. He was a pretty smart guy. They called him a wise old head, they said, in prison population.
Yeah.
So when incarcerated at the Tombs Manhattan House of Detention, he did not have to worry about assault because Mafia friends protected him. In conversation with Donald Francos, he would sadly reminisce about the 1920s and the 1930s when he was most active in robbing banks, and would always tell fellow convicts that, in his opinion, during the days of Al Capone and Charles Lucky Luciano, the criminals were the bloodiest gangsters from the time period, and many incarcerated organized crime inmates enjoyed having Sutton for companionship. So he was in the heyday, doing his thing in the time of the Depression in the heyday. So,
yeah, I got rid of that dude, Damien, man. Don't even stress it, bro. I got rid of him right when I seen the bullshit they're talking. I get rid of him, bro. I don't got time for him. But yeah, he had a lot of Mafia friends, like Anastasia. And so what I read is once he got to prison, he really didn't have to worry about anything because people were looking out for him. like people in the underworld were like fans of his. You know what I'm saying? Shit, Steve got disconnected, man. He's been having technical issues, but hopefully he can get back in here. But yeah, what's good, everybody? This dude escaped from prison a bunch of times. Let me see. He began his criminal career in 1919 at the age of 18. He robbed the office with his friend's father and help of his two friends. They stole $16,000 and were soon caught. No charges were pressed against them. During the 1924s and 1925, he, along with a friend, worked at a burglary team headed by one of the world's biggest safe crackers at the time, Edward Tate. Willie learned a lot, the art of burglary, from Tate. He became a prolific burglar in 1930, committing a total of 7 burglaries, attempted burglaries, targeting mostly jewelry stores and banks. He was arrested in 1931. He managed to escape in 1932 using a smuggled gun, along with 2 accomplices. Willie disguised as a policeman and burglarized Corn Exchange Bank in New York in 1933. This dude was a maniac. What's good, Code of the Streets? How you doing, man? Steve's having technical difficulties, man. What's good, bro?
All right, I think we're good now. Sorry about that.
You good? It's all good. Yeah, yo, there was something I wanted to talk about today, man.
Did you talk about what happened with Sutton when the guy in the early 50s was ratted on him, or kind of saw him in the subway?
Oh, with Anastasia, it was in the subway. Yeah, I didn't talk about that. No, I talked about 1930. He became a prolific burglar, and then he got arrested, escaped with a smuggled gun.
Yep.
He got apprehended in 1934 and sentenced to life in prison. He again escaped, this time disguised as a prison guard. In 1950, the accomplice robbed Manufacturers Trust Company in New York, holding an employee at gunpoint. Got away with $60,000.
Wow, and he spent a lot of time in Easton State Prison. That place is still standing, is infamous for being like all haunted. Didn't Capone was there too, wasn't he, for a while?
Yeah. After Capone killed or had the St. Valentine's Day massacre, he got haunted by one of the people. The legend says inside the cell, it was like the soul was haunting him.
Kept coming back. He was also suffering from, was it syphilis that was never treated? So yeah,
like messing with his brain.
His brain was turning into Swiss cheese, man.
I bet you any money, man. A lot of these dudes, like Al Capone, he was probably an alcoholic. He probably drank all the time, and then he had to go to prison. He's probably having DTs in that cell, man.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay.
And from, if you read about that time in the whole realm of things, it shows that Lucky Luciano and all them set Al Capone up to go to prison for possession of a weapon back then. So Lucky Luciano was snitching on people back then, basically, man. He was basically, no, he was setting people up to go to jail.
Wow.
Like, he definitely was doing that.
And then they said at the end, Sutton in the 60s actually went on a speaking tour. So in the end of his life, he was out there talking, telling his story. Like a lot of guys.
That's crazy. That after he got arrested the time on the subway and all that. How long did he spend in prison?
Let's see. He said he spent about half of his life in prison. More than half of his adult life in prison. First one was, 1931, charges assault and robbery. He failed to complete his 30-year sentence, however, escaping December 11th, 1932. Okay, that was earlier. February 33, attempted the Corn Exchange Bank and Trust Company robbery in Philadelphia. He came in disguise as a postman, but an alert passerby foiled the crime. Sutton escaped on January 15, 1934. He and two companions broke into the same bank through a skylight. This guy was unreal. So it's like he didn't make it the first time, be coming back around and trying something else and making it work the second time, right?
Yeah.
He also conducted a Broadway jewelry store robbery in broad daylight, impersonating a postal telegraph messenger. Sutton's other disguises include a police officer, messenger, and maintenance man. He usually arrived at the banks and stores shortly before they opened for business. Then he was apprehended February 34 and was sentenced to serve 25 to 50 years at Eastern State Prison in Philadelphia for the machine gun robbery of the Corn Exchange building. He was one of the 12 convicts who escaped the institution through a tunnel. Convicts broke through the other side during the daylight hours and were spotted immediately by a passing police patrol. The 12 men were forced to quickly flee the scene, with all being quickly apprehended. Sutton was recaptured the same day by Philadelphia police officer Mark something Cahill. So I'm trying to figure out when
Sounds like this dude was just out.
He's
He would just
unbelievable.
escape and go do whatever he wanted, right?
And I think he mentioned something about the reason he liked to rob banks is because when he was in the middle of robbing a bank, he felt the most alive. Like that's when he felt the best. Like when he was the best at what he did, and there's no disputing it. He made a lot of these other guys, like Jesse James and those guys, look like amateurs. That's what a lot of mafiosos.
He got over $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, 40 years of doing it. You know, I mean, come on, that's a long career no matter what it is. Even if you're doing something legitimate, 40 years is a long time to do anything, man. And robbing
Definitely
banks,
is, man.
You know, and to not to have caused harm to anybody in terms of didn't kill anybody, didn't wound any, you know, none of that. So it goes to show you, he knew what he was doing for sure. But Sutton's Law, did you explain what that was yet?
No, I don't even. What was that? What was Sutton's Law? Something to do with bank robbery, right?
Yeah. A reporter asked, Sutton was asked by a reporter, Mitch Onstead, why he robbed banks. According to Onstead, he replied, because that's where the money is. That's what Jimmy mentioned. I heard that.
Yeah, that's where the money is.
Right. And
shout out to Jimmy Calandria.
Yeah, Jimmy Calandria. What's happening, man? And the quote evolved into Sutton's Law, which is often invoked to medical students as a metaphor for emphasizing the most likely diagnosis rather than wasting time and money investigating every conceivable possibility. So it's kind of like, we're going to go right. Sutton's Law is take the most obvious, I guess, diagnosis. I didn't realize that it was a medical thing. I had no idea. So,
but he did block another scumbag.
Who's doing what? Who's doing what? Luciano helped U.S. Yeah, you're right. Code of the streets, bro. That's absolutely true. Luciano helped U.S. invade Italy. He was a key component to that conversation.
I believe he was coming back and forth into the U.S.
Luciano?
Yeah.
Without
without them knowing? Hell yeah, he was.
Yep. And Sutton also said, why did he rob banks? Because he enjoyed it. He loved it. I loved it, he said. I was more alive when I was inside a bank robbing it than any other time in my life. I enjoyed everything about it so much that 1 or 2 weeks later, I'd be out looking for the next job. But to me, the money was the chips. That's all. So it wasn't really about the money. It was the planning.
Thrill of it.
It was the thrill of it. It's the planning,
the excitement, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably timing himself in and out, you know, getting it down to a science, man.
It's just like with drugs, man. When you're on drugs, it's a lot of the excitement that people get addicted to. It's not really the drugs itself. Maybe it is, but I was addicted to like that fast-paced lifestyle, and
yeah,
I think a lot of people are addicted to that. You know,
they like the fast life. But the other thing too is, you know, I mean, you look at
and I get it. I mean, you see a lot of people that are working legitimate jobs are barely making any money. They got to work 2 jobs just to barely make money. When you see everybody, you know, guys on the street that have money, they have big rolls of money, and they're out there, you know, living a better life. At least that's what you're seeing. You know, that's why you want to do it. You know, you want to live fast. You want to, because you don't know about tomorrow. But I think, yeah, that's a tough choice. I mean, I can see why a lot of people would want to live that way. I mean, why not? Because you don't know about tomorrow. Might as well live good now, right? Live it up now.
Man, I try to do the best I can every day, man. I try to improve every day, and all these people that are negative, it's great, man. You know, they could stay hating the world and mad at everything. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, why?
Keep hating, man. It just helps me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It really does.
So, yeah, man, I mean, he's quite a guy. I mean, I think that a guy like that is...
And he made it to 1980, man. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah. You know, I don't know, were there ever any like interviews with him or anything like that? It'd be really cool to find some, just to get. That's what we're talking about, the history of all this stuff. It's cool to talk about this because this actually happened. This guy actually existed and did these things. You know, there's a lot of people now that go, well, that never happened. It's not real. You know, we don't want to erase. We don't want to erase history. We want to make sure it stays front and center, right? So, but yeah, unreal.
I got this. Let me share this. Here's one of the masks that he made, and it was on the Antique Roadshow.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everyone's been asking me at the table. All I wanted to say was, what's in the box? And if you could hold that for a moment.
He made that when he escaped from
Inside
prison.
the box, we found this wonderful plaster head with human hair, human eyelashes, and a strangely realistic human hand.
He's an artist.
About the contents of the box.
I don't know if anyone has heard of Willie Sutton. He was a famous bank robber, well-known bank robber. He was also well known for breaking out of prisons. This was his that he used in an attempted breakout. He had made this himself.
He's an artist.
Robbed over 100 banks.
Real, man,
He
almost.
escaped successfully from prison
really good.
times. And this is a dummy head and dummy hand that he used in an unsuccessful escape from prison.
Yes.
Well, and the prison was run by your grandfather.
Yes. After he was released from the Eastern Penitentiary, they sent it up to the Camp Hill prison where my grandfather was located, and then he simply kept it upon his retirement since Willie had been released long since.
Now, reportedly, what Sutton had done was, over the course of several months, possibly even years, he made this false head using hair from the barber shop, and there's actually real human hair. Same with the eyelashes. We have no idea where he got the pigments.
Right.
Where do you find paint in prison? You just can't go to the store and get color with toothpaste in pink.
But they're very creative.
Crazy, man.
That's crazy eerie, man. That's like real. Looks real.
It really is. Look at the hand. Look at the hand, bro.
Yeah. Like a death mask.
In fact,
or
this
something.
wonderful head, left it in his bed, left in the hand, clutching a corner of the bed sheet. You know what happened that night when he tried to escape?
Unfortunately, unbeknownst to him, 2 other inmates in another area of the prison also attempted to escape at that point at about the same time, and that set off all the bells and whistles and alarms. He ran back to his cell.
This escape attempt was in August of 1941.
Yes.
And it was just a few years later when he managed to finally escape for several years. And in 1950, he was actually the 11th person to be added to the FBI's most wanted list. Willie Sutton was also known for a wonderful, wonderful quote. Reportedly, he was asked once why he robbed banks. And he reported to have said, well, because that's where the money is. Well, later in life, he vehemently denied ever saying it. But he said it sounded good, and it sounded like something he would say. And he titled his autobiography, Where the Money Was, and talked about how he never ever said that.
Yes.
And this is such a wonderful, wonderful piece. And doing the research on it, there's not a lot of information. Most of the escape tools, props, and things like that were used by prisoners to help them escape are owned by prisons or in prison museums. So not a lot of these come up for auction. And we've almost
How
never
much you
seen
think it's
anything
going to be worth?
so prominent. And frankly, so
I don't
well
know.
done.
I'll say
this is
$5 grand.
masterwork. But without the box,
Might be a
the
low
provenance
bowling.
of the label on the box, it's just a creepy plaster head. But if you look at pictures of Willie Sutton, it looks just like him. It is
Yes.
amazingly well done. And after conferring with my colleagues, we were able to give it a very conservative auction estimate of $2,500 to $3,500.
Okay.
Wow, that's nice. That's very nice. That's surprising.
As far as I know, this is the first head in the box we've had on Road Show.
I put that bad boy on my mantle, man, right over. If I had a fireplace, that would go right over the fireplace. That thing right there.
Oh yeah, why not?
That's crazy. Who else did that? Didn't Dillinger do that? And he also carved out a gun
Oh
when
shit.
he escaped.
Yeah, they did that in on Alcatraz, remember?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and there you go. 8th grade education, also a hell of an artist. Nobody knew. I mean, and I think that brings me to something that kind of makes me think about a lot of people I've met along the way that spent time in prison that became really, that they got a chance to really show that they have these abilities. They got a chance to do artwork.
There's a lot of talented people in prison, man.
And the thing is, when they were guys like that, when you were younger, probably wanted to explore that and do those things, but never had a chance as a kid because nobody supported that, right? Nobody saw that in them because nobody was paying attention to them. Now they know. Like, look at this guy. I mean, nobody knew he could sculpt. I mean, that guy worked out that's artwork. That's unbelievable. So, and that's one thing that I've noticed with a lot of guys too is they use that when they get out. That's just kind of like a coping mechanism. I know guys that that were war combat vets. They're doing that too to kind of manage.
Yo, yeah, I'm telling you, change is definitely possible because I know a guy, right? He went to prison for drugs and a gun, and he ended up getting a pardon after a bunch of years be doing the right thing. He got a pardon, and now he has his pistol permit.
Wow.
And he got his whole life back, man. He doesn't have to worry about shit. Like, as long as you do the right thing, man.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. When you were in, the guys you met, did you actually ever meet anybody that was locked up that you believe was innocent and shouldn't be there? Did you ever meet anybody like that, or were you like, no, man, everybody's just screaming that they're innocent, but they're not?
Nah, a lot of people. I was in there like I don't deserve to be here and shit, but I did.
Right.
I look back at it now, and it's like, damn, I deserved to be there at the time.
Yeah, or like you see about these guys that are that they with the DNA, when DNA got better and better. Now a lot of guys getting released after 25, 30 years or more.
I could tell you a crazy story about some shit like that happened when I was in prison. So I was in a low-level prison one time. I think I was doing about a year. And there was a guy in there. He was in there for about 18 years. I think he was in there for 18 years already. And I'm not sure exactly how much time he had. I know it was a lot. It was like he was going to die in prison. And they called him to the counselor's office and they said that your appeal worked and you're going home. He got rid of all his stuff. He got rid of his TV, all his tapes. He had tapes back then. He got rid of everything, his food, everything. And when he came back to the dorm, the counselor comes back in and says, we made a mistake.
Oh, man.
Yo, he flipped out, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. Because he was already down for like 18 years. So he had everything that you need. Like, and especially if you give your stuff away and you think you're going to leave like that and it ends up getting reversed or whatever, you got your boys that you gave it to. You can get most of your stuff back, but you're not getting your stuff back.
Right. Yeah. But man, just the letdown, being in there that long.
Yo, he went crazy, man. They ended up taking him out in handcuffs because he went crazy. And
wow.
I don't blame him.
No, you catch another charge then, I suppose. Did he destroy stuff? I mean,
he was just going crazy. He was going berserk, man.
Wow.
Screaming, and they ended up taking him out in handcuffs. I don't know what ended up happening with him, but they did him dirty, man. It was pretty fucked up.
So nowadays, if you're thinking about bank robbing, I mean, look at the technology now. I mean, so when Willie Sutton was robbing banks back in the early 30s and until I mean, probably easier to get away with because they didn't have the cameras, they didn't have all that stuff. But you
Bro,
still
they have a
hear,
camera on every house now,
right?
man.
But I
They
mean, the
got a
thing is,
camera on every doorbell.
you still hear about bank robberies happen all the time, though, all the time. So
Yeah. I mean,
so
it takes
how they get away with it?
it takes a lot of balls to rob a bank, man.
Any bank robbers out there that used to rob banks? We want to hear from you. You know?
Yeah, I spoke to quite a few of them, and for someone to go in the bank and jump over the counter and do all that's crazy, man. It takes a lot of courage, or a lot of stupidity, because you're gonna get caught.
Right.
But I mean, there are people that have done it and haven't been caught. I don't know if you saw my interview with Andrew DiDonato.
Yeah,
he jumped over the counter, and they got away with like $500,000.
Unreal. And then you get the guys. You got the guys
I remember the interview. He's like, we cracked the bags, and there was all these things of money, man. He said his eyes were like, bing.
Wow. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Well, yeah, I know. People are still doing it. I mean, there was just one not too far from here, not too long ago. Guy just walked in with the
Minnesota.
gun, boom, yeah, just right in there, grabbing whatever they could. It's just like a really quick thing. And then you got the ones that you got the guys. A cop told me one time in one of the suburbs, one of the rich suburbs out here. Like, so, it's not the same crime-wise here as it would be in the inner city, right? He goes, yeah. He said, but the guy I worry about is the guy in a three-piece suit waiting in line at the bank. Because that's a guy that's overextended. That's a guy that's probably living way beyond his means, right? And he's about to lose his job, or he did. So now he's got this giant mortgage, and he's got this, this platinum blonde wife or whatever, and she's expecting to live good. So what you gonna do, man?
He's trying to uphold his wealth standing in society.
You got 10, 15 grand a month you got to make just to cover your expenses. You know what I'm saying? So when you get in a situation like that, guys will do. And he was right. There was a lot of that happened for a while. Then when the 2008, when the real estate thing crashed, everything crashed. There was a lot of people that would do those because they lost everything. Their status, but most of them were living all of them. I mean, they were barely making it anyway. It's just the status thing. So interesting take on that. I couldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it.
No.
Back in the day, I probably would have.
I always like the stories of guys that come in at Christmas time dressed as Santa Claus and they hold the bank up, or they, pass a note and then they take off.
If there's anybody out there that robbed the bank back in the day and you went to prison and you want to tell your story, hit up this email and I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
So hit up staxbill1979@gmail. If you robbed the bank in the past and you did your time, got out, and you want to talk about it, hit up my email. I want to hear your story.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to get perspective, but the few people that I've known that have done it, it's like, just like Willie said, it's the rush, it's the planning. It's the same thing when you're with drugs, like you mentioned earlier, like guys that are into cocaine. One of the biggest things, it's not so much as doing it, it's getting it, it's messing with it, it's doing, messing with it on the glass or however, it's all of that ceremonial stuff you end up doing, around that shit. And that's where the rush is.
Because I used to think, like, what, after I quit drinking or doing drugs, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah. So how was that the first couple of months? Is like you just didn't know, right? It took a while.
It's like, it was like, man, you got to fill your day up with positive things. And it's really the people you're around, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah. And then the longer you're sober, the more you realize, man, where did I have time to do any of that in the first place? Because when you fill it up, then you fill it up with things that keep you really super busy, especially like look what you're doing now. I mean, you turn everything around, though. That's something I want to talk to you about when I interview you on my show sometime pretty soon, at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, you've come a long way. you've done a lot, seen a lot of things. You've come a long way, and you're a good.
And I ain't ever going back, man. All
Yeah,
these
never.
people that wish bad on me, I ain't ever going back to that place. They can keep wishing, man.
Yeah. What's that? Martin's story said, "Why don't the Mafia retire? They know it's finished. They ain't got the guts to admit it." God is my friend. Okay. All right. There you go. What do you mean, Martin?
They know it's finished.
I mean, I guess if you're in, if you got a button, I mean, the problem is, do you really retire? There's a couple ways out of there, I suppose, but didn't make any sense.
I mean, the people that are in people that are in the mob nowadays, that level,
Yeah,
they're not playing kid games and doing bullshit. They're really doing some major shit.
Well, the Colombo thing that happened a while back, those guys are in trouble. The stuff that they did, it's like, what are you doing? I mean, that's like something you'd see in Goodfellas. They used to do that.
One of them got out on a $10 million bond.
Okay, nice.
How the hell? Like, so where does the government think that they got that money from? Like,
exactly.
I don't understand how they even let them do that to get out.
It's like Code of the Street says, the mob is in corporate America, big time. Of course it is. Oh, hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Yankees.
Steve got a radio. Do I got a radio voice? I want to try to do radio if I can. Hey, it's the Big D 103.
That's it. Oh, what is that? Code of the Streets. Haters gonna hate, never anticipate. There's another good one. Yeah, man, Mike, you're the man, dude. Enjoyed talking to you yesterday, and I want to officially. I sent you an email, but I want to officially let you know I want to interview you at some point if you have some time. You're a good guy. You got a lot of stories, so I'd love to hear some of them. So, is that okay, Staxx? You don't mind me jumping on your time?
Nah, man.
Okay, all right. Cool.
Man, you could interview anyone you want, man. I'm not the hating type, bro.
No, I know.
People that know me know. A lot of people get misconstrued about who I am. The people that don't know me,
Yeah. Nope, I hear you.
New mob is big pharma and corporate media.
Maybe.
Your chair needs oil, bro.
It's
You're
like
definitely right on that, D. Henry. His chair needs oil.
My chair? Which your chair? My chair is
yours.
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Is it bad? Okay, I gotta quit moving then. I won't
put cooking oil on it, bro.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know.
Take a Q-tip and put cooking oil on it, and then just rub it on there. It's
that
like
works.
it works.
Yeah,
swear to God, it'll work.
All right, I'll quit moving, so you won't hear it. Thanks for letting me know.
Mine doesn't squeak. Mine does a little bit. Yours is terrible, man. It's like you're walking through a haunted house when you move.
So what else, man? What else we got about Willie? Anything else we can talk about? They even use the Willie Sutton Rule in management accounting. They said it stipulates the activity-based, I don't even know what this means, the activity-based costing in which activities are prioritized by necessity and budgeted accordingly should be applied where the greatest costs occur because this is where the greatest savings can be found. So they're using it. This is where the money is. And just by following these steps, they're using the Willie Sutton rules. It's like the logical path, path, apparently. So
yeah.
Way to go, Willie. He's going to live
says his prison sentence was suspended in 1969 due to good behavior and failing health.
Yeah, and
become
emphysema.
A free man. And then post his release from prison, Willie became an advocate for prison reform, anti-bank robbery techniques, and he never committed another robbery. Suffered from emphysema.
Yeah, chain smoked.
During the last years of his life, he spent his final years with his sister in Florida. He died in 1980 at the age of 79.
So, prison reform and opportunities. We talked about that yesterday too. That's a subject that's really something I really like talking about. I think it's important. where's it at? I don't think it's anywhere it should be for people getting out that, you know, really are ready to get jobs, they're ready to find a place to live, they're ready to do something. You know, are there enough resources? Is it really down state to state? Is that really how it
It's
works?
state to state, man. It's different. State prisons in each state handle things different. I know my state sucks. Like it's terrible here. When I was involved with all that shit, I don't know what it's like to get out of prison and have to deal with things now, because I've done it so long ago, and I'm never gonna deal with that stuff again.
I want to hear from some people that maybe are dealing with it now. I think that'd be cool. I mean, just to see, you know, every state talks about how they're working on things, how they're fixing this, how they're fixing that. We have I think it's happening right now. It's a mayor of Minneapolis race going on. And, you know,
They're shutting down a lot of prisons in Connecticut. They're having
money issue, right? Because they're private.
I think obviously the inmate population must be going down if they're shutting prisons down.
Well, and probably the private ones, privately owned ones will go.
No, there's not private owned prisons in Connecticut. It's not privately owned.
It's all government there, huh? Interesting.
Connecticut is the land of insurance, man. So,
Minnesota too, a lot of insurance companies. Plus, you got the WWE up there too. Yes,
did you know that Connecticut's the insurance capital of the world?
Is it really? So who do you?
Yeah.
What companies? You got all the major ones.
All of them are here.
Yeah.
They have big things. At Cigna, all of them, all the major insurance companies are in Connecticut.
I was also read something in Connecticut. Is, you know,
what's your channel? Yankees for Life wants to know what your channel is, Steve.
realmobradio.com.
realmobradio.com.
Yep, and that's also the Facebook page too, Real Mob Radio.
It's right here, Yankees for Life.
Yep. So yeah, man, that streams 24 hours a day. Tell me what you want to listen to. I'll do a playlist for you. I mean, we're gonna go get some sponsorship. The whole idea behind that, the things I want to start doing now is I like music history, so I'm going to start in the 20s, like when Willie was doing his thing. This could be a good day to start that, because you talk about music of the 20s and how it kind of came from down south. There was African Americans who were doing this blues and certain types of music, and then there were white bands doing certain types of music, and they were all kind of moving together at the same time, and then, you know, comparing that with who was doing what in the mob. You know, I mean, I thought that'd be interesting to compare, because, you know, when you watch Goodfellas, you listen to the soundtrack, right? When you watch Godfather, you listen to the soundtrack. I mean, that's what makes or breaks a lot of stuff, you know. So
I'm telling you, man, I got something big I'm working on for next year, bro.
Yeah,
early next year.
I'll bet you do. You never stop, man. For anybody that wants to diss Bill-Staxx, I'm telling you right now, man, this guy doesn't stop. The minute he gets up in the morning till he goes to bed, he's working on stuff, he's planning things, he's talking to people. Listen, you know,
shout out to Kent Street TV too.
Hey, Kent Street, like it was yesterday. Great to meet him and talk to you too yesterday.
Yeah, we had a great time. It was a great time yesterday, man. There were a lot of good people there, and we had a lot of good conversation. And
then Yankees for Life said he likes old music. Yeah, me too. So when you think about, like, you know, you think about the 20s and 30s, you think about the wise guys in New York in the 50s and 60s. I mean, there was so much going on. There was a lot of different types of music too that you can relate to that, you know, to those guys and to that stuff, you know. So that's what Frank Sinatra. Yeah, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, all those guys. I mean, there's so much. But then I want to get it.
Cannoli.
I like that one. Leave the gun, take the cannolis. And one of the things I want to do is also talk about
CT, Ride Life 1000. What's good? The Rat Pack.
Also the Russian mob, you know, and their music, and the Latino mob, and, you know, and what they listen to. Really try to get in deep with that stuff, and then also try to interview people that are musicians, but also people that live that life, and, you know, and try to get their take on it. So see how it goes. Should be all right, hopefully. Can't run with Bankridge.
Just a cowboy messenger, Robert Bank, the term was glorified back then. So unpopular, but a lot of people liked him. It was like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that were on his side, you know.
Yeah, just like they're on Capone's side because he actually helped people that didn't have anything. You know,
Nowadays, you don't see that. Nowadays, you don't see people, you don't see the public being on the criminal side anymore, like it was back then.
well, now you have the age of instant media, so going live, camera phones, and everybody wants to be the one that gets the scoop, that gets the first pictures out on Facebook or YouTube or whatever they're doing. So I don't know, it's kind of a different thing. Like you hear these stories about people that are committing a crime in front of other people, horrendous stuff like rape.
Yeah, like do you remember that dude that shot that old man on camera on Facebook Live? Do you remember that in Ohio?
Yeah,
that was terrible, man.
Right. Yeah, and this happened more than once on Facebook Live, and how do you catch that? But that's really terrible, and unfortunately, that's the ugliness. That's what that kind of media brings. I mean, that goes back to that bigger question about the kids now coming up, this generation that's been with social media heavy, coming up, growing up with it. They pretty much pick their avenue, their lanes of how they think. They're going to think like the MSNBC way. They're going to think the Fox News way, CNN way. The problem now is that there's so much messaging coming in from all over. Kids don't know what the hell to believe, what's right, what isn't right. Parents don't know what to say to them half the time because they're your parents. They're going to take the opposite view in most cases in their mind. So it's tough, man. There's so much out there. There's a lot of ugly shit, like you said, that kind of stuff. Or when for a long time there was all these beheading videos and all this crazy stuff. I mean, people shouldn't have to see that, man. Yeah, I mean, and for people to look at that stuff and say, wow, I get a charge out of it and it's really cool. I mean, I would have to sit back and say, you need to take some personal inventory of where your brain is because you got a problem, if you like that kind of stuff. So
I don't like seeing all negative stuff like that. A lot of times when I go on social media, that's all you see is negative shit in the timeline, man. All negative shit.
Well, if it bleeds, it leads. I mean, anything in the media, if it's controversial, two things sell: controversy and comedy, and so if you can do something really funny, people like that. But
no, it's sex and controversy, man. What are you, crazy?
Yeah. Well, comedy too, but sex and controversy, right? And
that shit's after. Fucking comedy is after sex and controversy, bro.
Right. That's true. That's true. I was reading something that said that they thought that comedy was right up there, but I don't agree. I agree with you.
Definitely not.
My brother-in-law used to work for I think it was WGN in Chicago years ago, and that's what he would say is that if it's not about blood splatter, breaking news, dun, 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 there's a guy got hit by a truck. Let's get the camera crew down there.
Yeah,
that's gonna get viewership. That's how it is. Unfortunately, as human beings, we're attracted to that kind of shit. We're attracted to the car crash. Why do you think people slow down on the freeway? They want to see their bodies. Anybody laying out there? I mean, everybody wants to know.
Bro, and then you get up and there's like nothing going on.
That's really pisses me off.
And shit happened to me the other day, man.
Man, what's really bad is when I'm in Minnesota, and I know you're in Connecticut where it's snow and ice too, but there's you get an accident up here, you're stuck on the freeway for 3 hours. If it's 10, 20 below, if your car isn't moving, I've seen people run out of gas sitting on the freeway trying to get off the freeway. So yeah, man.
Oh, man.
But I mean, I think that's the challenge with a lot of kids. It's the social media. It's like, with parents who have kids that are younger, I think the big challenge is to try to make sure that you as a parent and your messaging to your kids doesn't get washed out in school, like with a lot of things you're teaching in school. I mean, what do? You can't be with your kids 24/7. They got to get out.
Some of these parents, even some of these parents' minds are warped, man. You see online, people are smoking weed in front of their kids. They're drinking with their kids around. They're just not good, man. It's just not good.
Yeah, what are you representing to them? On the other hand, I guess I couldn't do that. There's no way. But I mean, I think that, and look at it this way: the suicide rate for teenagers is way up. It's way up, even for kids that are in elementary school, 8, 9, 10 years old. What? I mean, think about that. growing up, and when I was growing up as a kid, really little kid in the 70s, I mean, I suppose it happened, but we didn't have that kind of messaging, man. All we had was the nightly news. We had 3 channels, and that's it. And then you take your ass outside all day. You play outside. You come in. You don't play. There's no video games. It wasn't any of the isolation that you see kids are doing now, where they're just doing one thing and they're getting fed all this information. It wasn't that way then, And I don't know. How do you fix it? What do you do? How do you fix it? What do? You have to keep them away from it.
Said weed's legal, it's prescribed even. Yeah, but that's the problem, man. Some people are just taking it overboard.
That's true.
It's unbelievable the shit you see on the internet, man. Like, chick will be holding her baby, smoking a blunt, like it's cool. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people, man?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the problem is, if you speak up about it, you get canceled by the.
And you can't do certain things and smoke pot. You can't have a pistol permit and smoke weed.
Right.
You can't legally get weed and have a pistol permit.
Right.
So you have to make a decision. You want to do one thing or the other thing. And that's basically what it is. You can't have both.
Can't have both. No, it's true. And then, I still say I think it's probably good for certain professions. They should probably watch for that. Anything that's medicating, that surgeons.
I don't got nothing against people that smoke, man.
No, me neither. I guess would you want your surgeon? Would you want to know if your surgeon was,
Yeah, you want your surgeon to smoke a blunt before he starts chopping at your brain?
Got his hands like this and the gloves, looking at you like, all right, well, hopefully we'll see you on the other side. Last thing he says to you.
Yeah, it's sad, but a lot of people do it. Doesn't mean you should do it in front of your kids, but a lot of people do. Go online and just look on your timeline. I guarantee you see people smoking pot in front of their kids all over the place.
So then here's the question, and I'm going to put it out there because people are going to, sorry, the chair is doing its thing. Sorry.
Nah, it's everywhere. It's not just where I live.
But no, I mean, yeah, but, people are going to scream, well, it's my culture. This is what I do in my culture. Does it make it right? Does it make it right if it's someone's culture or not? I mean, I guess we're all entitled to our opinions, right? That's what makes this country great. We can do it without getting arrested. Hopefully, but it seems like we're losing that opportunity. So, we still have to stand up for what we believe in. What's right is right, man. You're a dad, I'm a dad. What's right is right, in our opinion. And if somebody thinks that it's okay to do that, I want to hear your opposing view. Tell us why you think it's okay. We're curious to know. I mean, we're open to that, right, bro? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Opioids too, Kim Coppola. There you go. Yeah, opioids. Yeah.
Alcohol's legal. It's torn families apart. We the same thing, moderate, low key.
You're right. It's right. I mean, I'd say 98 to 99% of every police type call that happens is there's going to be alcohol involved or some kind of medication.
Of course.
Every time, every single time. And you're right, alcohol is legal, and maybe prohibition wasn't such a bad idea, but what it did is it turned a lot of people who never really drank, it turned them into alcoholics.
Yo, if you bring prohibition back now, it will make the criminals so powerful. It would be insane.
It would be totally insane. Yeah. Well, you notice in lockdown, I thought it was interesting when we had the first lockdown in 2020, right? COVID, the big one, countrywide, coast to coast. Liquor stores are open. They kept on going, man.
Hey, man, if I was drinking at the time, I would have smashed windows to get my alcohol. I didn't play games when I drank.
Yeah,
I would get liquor. It didn't matter if shit was open or not.
But I think it's interesting that people being put in a situation where I heard a lot of stories about like young couples that were just married, right? Maybe married a year, and then the lockdown happened. Then they end up getting divorced because I can't stand you. Well, so you're locked down for a year, but then they're like, well, I didn't know all these things about you. But you hear about these people that went out for 5 years or whatever, and it's just like, what do you mean you don't know? I mean, where the hell were you? You don't know who you're with? I mean, it's just crazy. You hear all kinds of weird stories like that. But you got to be okay with who you are, and medicating isn't the way to do it. I mean, it never solves shit. It doesn't do nothing for you.
Nah.
Opioids, it's a good point. It's a great point about the opioids thing. It's the big lawsuit that happened. The family, there were like one major family that was kind of the backer. They were the funding source when they created all the painkillers that's been having so many problems. They knew what it was going to do. They knew what the outcome was going to be. They knew it was going to be addicting as hell, but they also could see the numbers because they had it all estimated how much money they would make before they estimated how they're going to start being sued or having problems by the government. They figured, well, we could go this long before we start to have issues, but we'll have our attorneys in place. I mean, they made millions upon millions, and okay, yeah, we'll give back $100 million. You probably made $1 billion from the whole thing. So I mean,
made more than that, man.
give
People
and
made
take.
tons of money,
Yeah.
and it killed tons of
Oh,
people.
Look at how many people turned.
Just my friends, just people I know, probably like 30 people, probably more.
Yep. How many people out there know people that started out? They had a legitimate injury. They were given painkillers for their
I know
injury,
tons of
back
people,
injury,
man.
and then
I know
all of
tons.
a sudden, whoa, scripts ran out. Sorry, so you got to go underground to find it. You can't find it. Then what do? Then you go to.
So then they start buying off the streets, and then that shit runs out, and they can't afford the pills no more. So then they start doing dope.
Yeah, and there you go. Then you're down the rabbit hole, man. You know,
yeah,
and that's the issue. So, and it's still bad, but I mean, I think the one good thing is that's happening for people right now is there's a lot more resources for like mental health, like telemedicine, that whole thing where you can talk to your doctor over the internet, now and stuff. I think was a good thing out of all that lockdown shit. There's a lot of resources for people that are struggling. There's no reason to sit around and struggle when there's things you can do. Especially suicide with veterans that were out there that that's a big thing that I believe in, man, because that suicide rate's still way too high for veterans, and it shouldn't be so at all. You know what I mean?
The homeless rate too for them is insane.
Yeah. Really
Shout out to all the veterans, man.
Yep, absolutely. Pod company is a good investment, man. That's a huge investment.
It is. I don't think it's a good investment for me, just because I'm a felon and feds don't like me, and I don't want them to have a reason, because they can still arrest you. The feds could still arrest you for pot, man.
Well, the banks are there. I don't know where I heard this. Could it be it was in California? Maybe the banks couldn't do anything with them because it was all cash heavy. So these dispensaries had to have put these big vaults, or big safes in the building so they could put all the cash in. But now some of these banks are starting to work with these companies that they've found a loophole, and they're working through the laws, so now they can legitimately. These dispensaries can put their money in the banks so it's safe, because they were getting jacked right and left because these guys knew where the cash was. See, there you go, Willie. There's Willie. He knew where the cash was. Willie Sutton Rule.
Yeah, people were robbing them.
Right,
and, but they're like fucking vaults now, man.
Oh yeah, but Colorado. I mean, when they first did it, all the money that state made is ridiculous. I work with a lot of people in Colorado, and they would talk about it. It's unbelievable how much they made. But then you have the conservative guys. Some of the politicians didn't want to. They openly would put it down. It's a scourge on our society, but secretly behind closed doors, they're investing.
They're like, give me that.
Hell yeah, man! They're investing money in all kinds of stuff, grow operations. Come on, So yeah. So anyway, but I mean,
I gotta go make some food, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me tonight, man. I had a good time. And
always enjoyed Staxx. Appreciate your time, man. Appreciate seeing people out there too. So
yeah, of course, man. I thank everybody for joining us, man. I appreciate every single one of you guys. And tell a friend to tell a friend, because I need more subscribers, please.
Yeah, me too.
And go check out Real Mob Radio, and we're just gonna keep bringing out the best content, because I'm the king of YouTube.
And I'll grease up this chair next time, I promise.
Go check out Real Mob Radio.
Yeah, check it out. Tell me what you want to hear. There's a lot of old-timey radio shows on there too, like old gangster and detective shows. If you like that stuff, let me know. Let me know what you want to hear. I'll put it on there for you. Happy to do it.
And make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get our videos every time they drop. Till next time, man. Thank you, bro.